I'm Astrid Deinhard. This is a World War II in real-time special about Brazilian spy rings up to 1942. For goodness sake, you may ask yourself, what is Astrid doing in Indy's chair again? Good question. Here's what happens. I was talking about the German spy Erwin Respondek and the American spy Sam Woods in our Spies and Ties video. And there was such a lot of supporting comments under the video that even Lake Starnberg in front of our house started warming up. Thank you so much for that. I have the whole Erwin Sam story in intense preparation. It's coming soon, I promise. One of our historians, Joram, here he is, wrote this episode about spies. And so I said to Indy, scoot over, Indy. It's a spy thing. That's pour moi. And I'm going to do it. So there you have it. When the war breaks out in 1939, Brazil is home to a bit under 1 million ethnic Germans. The country is ruled by a dictator who flirts with fascism, but is important to American foreign policy. What a splendid combination for German intelligence agencies who recruit and train dozens of spies running clandestine radio networks and allowing them to send precious intel from America to Germany via Brazil. Brazil's ruler is a big Nazi fan and totally anti-Semitic. His name is Ghetto Vargas. This man was and is, to this very day, extremely popular. He got his own memorial in 2003. Hitler's book, Mein Kampf, in Portuguese it's called Minha Luta, is on the bestseller list. You heard me, is, not was. What is it?
Astrid, dear, this is a history channel and we don't talk about current events.
I'm not a historian.
But you are the producer, so, my dear, you can't just say whatever you want.
Sorry for that. Okay, bye. Okay, sorry I said that, okay? Thank you. Okay, I have to get used to this. Okay. But I can say this, and I want to say this. He was so popular that they named the biggest diamond, it was called the Vargas diamond. They found it in 1938 in the river San Antonio. It had 726.8 carat. And they could make 29 stones. You know, they cut it and they made 29 stones, even big, in 1941. So, back to business. Let's say there are two types of German spies, or rather two organizations that German spies are reporting to. There is the very big one, the Abwehr, the official military agency for Wehrmacht, under the leadership of Wilhelm Canaris. And there is the Amt 6, similar but way smaller, for foreign intelligence departments of the Sicherheitsdienst SD, the secret service of the Nazi Party, which was operating under the Reichssicherheitshauptamt. Huh? Everything sounds like Hitler. RSHA, under the leadership of Reinhard Heydrich. A sizable part of their combined effort is gathering information abroad through their operatives and spy networks all across the world. These have multiple tasks, ranging from military and industrial espionage to sabotage and counter-espionage. But ultimately, it's the Abwehr who keeps the majority share of the foreign intelligence business. Their operation in South America is important. Brazil is abundant in natural resources and has an extremely long coastline, which is essential for trade between the four continents surrounding the Atlantic Ocean. So extremely important for the Germans, the US, and Britain. But let's come back to our popular Brazilian president, or by 1939, dictator, Getúlio Vargas. Abolished political parties and filled prisons, the usual dictator stuff. The Axis powers invited him to join them in 1937, but he said no. You see, Brazil gets more industrial and financial support from the US than from the Axis, and he doesn't want to spoil that. That cooled things a bit with the Axis, and it also didn't help banning all political parties, including banning the Nazi Party. So, he abides faithfully with the US neutrality policy in the Western Hemisphere. But, like I said in the beginning, there are close to 1 million ethnic Germans living in Brazil. See, being perceived as having Aryan blood through some German heritage forces them to join the German military, even if they are born in Brazil. All in all, a very attractive breeding place for any kind of secret information business, right? So, when the war breaks out in 1939, no wonder Brazil becomes a hub of South American clandestine operations. One of the very early VIPs in the secret business, so to say, is Gustav Albrecht Engels. Here we have it. He moved to Brazil in the 20s and rose through the ranks of the prominent German electrical company, you might know, AEG, the Allgemeine Elektrizitätsgesellschaft. Now, roughly 20 years later, he's an experienced engineer and manager, well connected in Brazilian and German political business and military circles, precisely the type of person who would make a very good agent. So, it does not really come as a surprise that in the summer of 1939, Engels is recruited by the Abwehr, where he receives his code name, Alfredo. He is not the stylish, flashy, playboyish kind of spy that we might know from the movies, but a mundane-looking family guy and a serious businessman. He receives encryption codes from a contact at the German embassy and starts to send information on American economics and trade between Latin America and the US and Britain by mail. But he writes his messages in secret ink like a real Giovanni Battista della Porta, who used to write messages on the inside of eggs. Look it up. It's interesting and true. So, photographs are sent using the ingenious microdot method, which reduces pictures to the size of a postal stamp, and then again to the size of a little dot, roughly the size of one on the lower letter G. Then the Battle of the Atlantic gets big, with the Germans targeting shipping with U-boats, and Engels is asked to use radio communication instead, which he does not want to do. He hates it. But radio communications is the preferred method of the Abwehr, so he's got to live with it. Actually, clandestine radio network quickly becomes central in the Abwehr's foreign intelligence strategy. New agents are equipped with the Agentenfunk, or AFU, literally meaning agent radio, produced by the German firm Telefon. It's a small, lightweight radio set that fits in the size of a briefcase, so spies can carry it with them without drawing attention. Now, this is where one of the SD agents comes into play. His name is Johann Siegfried Becker, codename Zargo. Here he is. He does have experience with radio operations from operations in Argentina and succeeds in convincing Engels to grow his operations. Engels establishes a radio station which allows him now to have direct communication with Germany, and before long Engels becomes the big spy master in a large web of Brazilian agents acting as their central contact in the Western Hemisphere. Operation Bolivar, that's the name of the whole shebang, grows significantly in 1941, stretching from multiple South American countries to Mexico and the United States. Engels now gets a lot of cash from the fatherland and recruits new spies and informants right, left, and center. Businessmen, employees in the German embassy in Sao Paulo, and employees of numerous companies. He reports on stuff like Brazilian troop movements, United States politics and relations with South America, blueprints of ships dates, and details of merchant shipping, aircraft production, and airport construction. Anything that might be relevant is reported on all the way down to the production of soldiers' boots. As 1941 rolls on, Operation Bolivar's activities reaches new heights. Engels' network expands into Ecuador, Cuba, Argentina, where Captain Dietrich Niebuhr, codename Diego, is in charge, and then Chile, where German naval and air attaché Ludwig von Bullen, codename Bach, runs the operation. One Abwehr spy working in the United States is frequently traveling to Brazil to exchange intel. He is Dusan Popov, one of the most successful double agents during the war. We made a special about him. You will find the link at the end of this video. It's really interesting. You have to look at it. Anyway, in addition to Engels' extensive operation, multiple other separate networks are now operating in Brazil. There's the ring around Józef Starczyński, codename Lucas, also called the Queen Mary spy. Because of all the intelligence on British shipping he sent to Germany, you can imagine how useful that would be to a U-boat campaign in the Atlantic, right? Another ring managed by Friedrich Kemper, aka King, all contributing to a total up to 10 clandestine radio operations in Brazil. The Germans back home are loving all that stuff, coming their way and crank up operations to 100 in late 1941. But there are limits to how many Germans you can hide under the radar, right? Brazil and the other South American operations gain new relevance after the Japanese attack on Pearl Harbor. Not just because the US is now Germany's enemy, but because the future direction of Brazil and the other Latin countries is now more uncertain than ever. Vargas walks a line between the Allies and Germany. But after Pearl Harbor, he's pressed by the US to show his true colors. Now, what are these true colors? They may not be true, but more strategically, he chooses America over Germany, and even over neutrality. He breaks off diplomatic ties with the Axis powers, and German nationals are placed under observation. The Brazilians begin cracking down on covert operations, and before long, the first cells start to disintegrate. Bam. Kemper, alias King, signals to Germany already December 10. We are destroying all compromising documents, maintaining radio operations as long as possible. Heil Hitler. Public opinion cries for the Brazilian government to act when Brazilian ships are increasingly the targets of German torpedoes. The increased scrutiny pays off too, as Brazilian and Allied agents start dismantling German cells and are arresting agents left and right. By March 1942, the Allies are about to roll up the entire spy ring. On the 10th, Józef Starczyński is arrested, a big catch for the Allies since he had a contact within the American embassy. He also knows about Engels' operations and identity, and though he endures his hearings as he is trained, mixing truth with faked information, he caves under pressure. You know how that works. On March 18, 1942, Brazilian authorities arrest 26 high-profile suspects, including both Engels and Kemper. By March 26, roughly 200 people connected to Operation Bolivar have been rounded up and 4 radio sets are confiscated. The wholesale arrest of these groups even caused the Brazilians, hold your shorts, to open up a new concentration camp with the sole purpose of detaining spies. There you have it. But this is not the end of the German operations in the Western Hemisphere. Engels' friend Becker is still out and about. He is in Germany at the time of the mass arrest. He takes control over the South American operations and resumes his work from Argentina, where he arrives in February 1943. Heinz Lange, there he is, Becker's partner in crime, runs a new network in Chile, while Johnny Hartmut, aka Guapo, flies to Brazil to resume his work from Paraguay. The spy game will go on. Just saying. Conclusion. Now, here's the thing. Spy networks are always complicated by double agents, moles, and counter-espionage. In the case of Nazi Germany, this is especially true because at the very top level of the Abwehr are two men actively trying to help the Allies. Yes, the boss, Canaris, and his deputy, Hans Oster, are all part of the anti-Nazi German resistance. You could say that they are traitors, but if you consider what they are betraying, we should be so glad they did. And when you think about it, isn't the nature of espionage on some levels always a game to betray someone? Perhaps that's what it makes it so fascinating. In any case, it has probably been a part of human diplomacy and conflict since the dawn of civilization, but it is during World War II that the modern spy, equipped with electronics, high-tech photographic equipment, and communication via radio, comes of age. I will be back to cover more of that, including, of course, my promised series about Erwin Respondik and Sam Woods. Until then, you can watch a special hosted by Indy entirely about Popov, like I said, who happens to be one of the main inspirations, hold your beer, of Ian Fleming's James Bond character. I would like to recruit you for the Time Ghost Army. So go to timeghost.tv or patreon.com. See you next time, darlings.